Emma, boarding schools allowing...
Oh my goodness, right. If I was at boiling point before...
Explain to our viewers
and
what
if your
this is.
child was at this school...
No.
If your child was at this
Exactly.
school...
I would be removing my child instantly.
Yeah.
Go on,
Good Lord.
What this is.
So you may have heard of a couple of boarding schools there in Hampshire, Bedales and Taunton. They charge around £14,000 a term.
God, so that's £42,000 a year?
A year. That's just for, you know, boarding and education. Don't worry about the rest of it.
That's before we...
Basically, they are allowing their trans pupils...
Don't laugh. It's not funny you're putting butter on.
Can we let Emma finish?
They are allowing their trans pupils to stay in the dormitories of their preferred gender, of their chosen gender. To me, this sounds like an absolute recipe for mayhem.
And what age are they allowing this to start from?
This is...
They're boarding, they're probably from 13...
I think it's 11, 12. I think it's the teenage years. Look, adolescence is a time of sort of emotional turbulence and torrent and all sorts of identities and feelings and emotions. The idea that children have to kind of assign themselves to a different gender and then get to stay in the other dormitory. I don't think that's safe. I don't think that's fair on other pupils. If I was a parent there, I would be immediately
But now
removing
Bev
my
thinks
child.
if the parent complains, the parents will be too scared to complain.
Well, the government guidance is, you know, is going through the motions at the moment. We've had a lot of talk about this recently.
You and I wouldn't, Emma, because we're not that kind of parent. But unfortunately, we're living in an era, Matthew, where the adults no longer impose borders or rules or boundaries on children. And therefore, the children are feeling all at sea.
All at sea.
All the metaphors this today, haven't we? And the idea that they would be just indulged so that when children come up with a fanciful idea that maybe a lot of the time it's because they're gay, and actually rather than just saying, yeah, well, you're gay, no big deal, they say, oh, well, maybe you're not in the right body
or
anymore.
Bev, that it's fashionable.
Well, I think that's the key point. I think the thing about this is
it's groupthink.
It's groupthink, but also it can be exploited because if all you have to do is say you identify this is the self-identification issue which we've seen in Scotland is such a, you know, in a wider context is a bigger issue. Is if you just want to say today I'm feeling I'm in a different gender, then that's a way you can get into the girls' dormitory,
exactly.
which, you know, the lads have been trying to do for years in boarding schools, where, you know, as it were. But at least there have been protections in place. I mean, I actually think I slightly disagree. I think this will actually there'll be pushback against this because I think it's a legal minefield. Because A, it seems to go against the government guidance, and also the first time anything happens.
But Matthew, there's the point. You said government guidance. It's not government rules.
And I'm not sure that the government guidance even applies to private schools because
not
it's
particularly
because it's a directive from the Department of Education.
But that was always my slight problem.
No, this does now clash with government guidance, which states that pupils must sleep in dorms segregated by their biological sex. And please, can we just be serious about protecting single-sex spaces?
But why has the government only made it guidance? Because they didn't want to legislate because they knew it would get bogged down in the House of Lords. The Labour Party would probably tear it asunder.
No, because the Labour Party's against self-identification.
Are you?
Yes.
Well, you wobbled a bit.
I know that Keir made a bit of a fool of himself. Well, the Scottish Party is independent and doesn't...
Yeah, and Keir Starmer still doesn't... Keir Starmer think one woman in every thousand has a penis?
He's able to define in one sentence what a woman is.
Right. Why did it take him so long to work
Look, I think that was a communications disaster that he did, and frankly, I think it was slightly embarrassed straight man doing it. Wes Streeting, who's gay, who's the Shadow Health Secretary, was able to define what a woman was instantly because he
straight man find it embarrassing. He should have more
experience. But I think he was worried about offending the LGBTQ+.
But also, I think this is really doing children a disservice because we are, Bev, exactly as you say, we're bringing them up in a really confusing atmosphere when everything is questioned. But also, we're failing to say, OK, these are your feelings, let's talk about this. Are you know, maybe they're gay, maybe they're just going through what we go through as teenagers.
I still think
the idea of introducing teenage boys into a girls' dormitory or the other way is a recipe for disaster and very unsafe.
You've got gay kids, both boys and girls in those dormitories, and they don't have sex with the people in there. But I mean, that's just I'm just saying pushing back.
Well, they shouldn't be having sex before they're 16 anyway.
No, absolutely, it's illegal.
And is sex not? Is it permitted in boarding schools?
No.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happened in sixth form when it's legal. I don't know.
Even if you're
I'm not posh enough to have gone to a boarding school.
No, but as a teenage girl, you don't want boys in your single-sex spaces.
Of course you don't.
But I can tell you that generation, unless they are being brought up to be very strong-minded, they will go with the flow, and they, as you say, this idea of offended.
It's the group.
The pupils won't want to.
It's like this ludicrous school who's saying they can't provide cat litter for pupils who are identifying as cats.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not funny, is it, really? That's the problem. It's not funny,
But it does tip into the realms of comedy because it is absolutely ludicrous.
You just keep saying you couldn't make this up. And this is the future we are wandering towards.
Whose child is at a boarding school agrees to get on the phone saying, You're not doing this to my kids, are you?
Yeah, and interestingly, one of the schools in the article which
wouldn't,
quoted
though.
that it has a policy of doing this says that that's out of date and it actually doesn't do it now, which is not the ones Emma mentioned, but it's Christ Hospital in Sussex. So they seem to have... Common sense seems to have prevailed there.